This week on the Aviators, we introduce you to the epic certified E1000. Well, I myself get an unexpected introduction to flying it. Then don't blink or you'll miss this driving force on the runway. An explosive triple jet engine truck that steals the thunder at air shows as it rockets past the competition. We'd like to begin this next segment with a question for all of our viewers. What weighs 6,800 pounds, has 3 jet-powered engines, spits 150-foot flames on command, and reaches speeds of up to 375 miles an hour? Let me give you a hint. The Guinness record-setting Shockwave jet truck has been dropping jaws and thrilling truck and airplane fans alike for the past 30 years of headlining air shows, drag races, and everything in between. Shockwave's driver, Chris Darnell, who splits driving duties with his father Neil, has owned Shockwave for just a few years, but his history with the vehicle goes much deeper than a cursory glance would suggest.
Shockwave was built about 68 miles from my house in Springfield, Missouri. It was built in Galena, Kansas by Les Shockley. Nobody had ever built a multiple engine jet vehicle. Really, the single engine stuff was still really incredible and just blew people away. Well, he built this thing and it just literally blew everyone away. NHRA outlawed it, said it's too big, it's too crazy, it's too fast, and said, we don't want any part of it. Well, Les sued him and won, and this thing has done thousands of NHRA drag races since then. I've known Les since I was about 3 years old, and I've got pictures of myself in Shockwave t-shirts from that age. And I rode in the truck when I was 7. I actually took a ride in it when I was 7 years old, and now I'm 31 and driving it, so it's a cool story.
Over the course of its 30 years on the air show and racing circuits, Shockwave has become one of the largest draws wherever it appears, greeted by legions of fans anxious to watch its explosive performance.
When the truck starts spooling over on the first engine, we have to start 3 engines separately, so it takes a couple minutes to start it. But as soon as they hear the first engine start firing up, the crowd will be like ants going towards the fence. And I've even seen them pushing on a lot of shows have snow fencing, and they'll be pushing on it, just trying to get as close as they possibly can. And then you light the burner and they're all just blown away by, it sends 100, 150-foot flames out the back. And, it's when I bring the throttle all the way up and do the loud burner pops, it's like mini sonic booms. You could literally hear it 3 or 4 miles away.
The Peterbilt Semi is equipped with 3 Pratt & Whitney J34-48 engines, the same ones used by the U.S. Navy's T-2A Buckeye, which produce a total of 36,000 horsepower and 19,000 pounds of static thrust. The twin chrome exhaust stacks modified with piezoelectric igniters use raw diesel fuel to produce the 150-foot flames with which Shockwave impresses its spectators and intimidates its competitors. And while fans often push to get as close as possible to watch the jet truck perform, for some fans, even that isn't enough.
People always say, can I hop in and go? And I say, if you can figure out how to start it, go for it.
What they don't realize is just how complex a vehicle Shockwave is to operate, where one wrong maneuver could result in disaster, a fact Chris knows all too well.
It takes a lot of skill to be able to listen to that drone of the jet engine and know when it needs to have more fuel or less fuel. You can spit all the internal parts out of the hot section of these motors just simply by giving it a 1/4 inch too much fuel on startup. And that makes a mess. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of levers and stuff like that, but you really have to be on your game, because if something does go wrong, just like a pilot, you've got to be ready to make some decisions. At 300 mile an hour is traveling 1,500, 2,000 feet per second, and some of the runways that we run on are 4,000 or 5,000 feet. So if you don't make a decision to pitch out the secondary chutes if they're needed, you're going to end up in the woods.
The parachutes Chris mentioned enhance Shockwave's braking system. 2 military-grade 16-foot parachutes with another 2 available as backup in case of emergency, which are deployed at the end of a race, with the truck pushing 350 miles an hour. But regardless of the safety mechanisms in place, Chris knows very well that every time he prepares for another performance, his life is on the line.
It's a calculated risk, just like any form of racing or these, air show pilots. If everybody went 350 miles an hour, it wouldn't be a big deal, right? But that's why we wear what we wear. But fire is a big risk, because there's a lot of fuel on board. This truck holds 190 gallons, and we burn all of that in a performance. But the first half of the performance, you've got all that fuel on board. So if something were to happen, you're gonna have a big fire. If there was a fire, you can't see anything. So you need to be aware of where everything is. Emergency fuel shutoffs. I need to be able to do all that stuff while my eyes are closed.
The custom Corvette that can be spotted wherever the jet truck goes plays a far more crucial role than you might expect, functioning as charger, starter, and tow vehicle for Shockwave.
Our tow car Corvette, it's what starts the jet truck. This is a battery box that we made. They're 3 diesel batteries out of a semi, and they're all wired together, 36 volt, and that's what starts the jet truck. They plug it in and then hit this button, and it starts turning the jet engines over.
Once Shockwave has been towed onto the runway, Chris isolates himself in the jet truck and relies on his crew, wife Brooke, and mechanic Wayne to act as his ears and eyes, preparing the truck to start the race and communicating over the radio on his behalf with such key individuals as the airboss to ensure that everything runs as safely as possible.
Ready? Let's go.
As Wayne starts the truck, signaling Chris with the ignition of each successive engine, it's finally time for Chris to take over and begin the performance. The first part of a Shockwave performance is what's dubbed as the smoke and fire show, where the jet truck paces and idles up and down the runway, filling the air with smoke and spits of fire while unleashing deafening burner pops, steadily building anticipation for what's to come.
The afterburner pops that I'm doing that spray the big fire out the back aren't that explosive. There's just a lot of fire. We run this truck at about 106% as far as what the level that you can, the RPMs that you can run these motors, and the highest you can run it's about 107, 108. Whenever I am getting ready to take off, I bring those engines up to full throttle, and you're sitting there trying to hold the brakes with 3 jet engines. It's intense. It's like holding a squat, 500-pound, 300-pound squat for, 30, 40 seconds, and all of a sudden you hit the afterburners and it's just an explosion.
With the crowd warmed up, Chris gets into position for the big climax, a blistering race down the runway, reaching speeds of up to 350 miles an hour before deploying his parachutes to bring him to a halt. For a climax that really only lasts about 10 seconds, it certainly leaves a lasting impression.
It's an adrenaline rush for sure. There's driving it around and doing the smoke and fire, that's all part of the show. Like I said, the people love it. But for the driver, it's about bringing those throttles up to 100% and lighting the burner, and all of a sudden just an explosion off the line that rocks the earth. It's just absolutely incredible what this thing's capable of, and people don't understand that when they get up close to it, and all of a sudden it just pounds them in the chest, and they lose their breath. Next thing you know, they're cheering and just can't believe that what they just saw. Before a night show, I'm even more so like just standing here thinking about everything, because it is more dangerous and there's just more things that can go wrong in a night show, and it's the highlight of the evening. I mean, this is the finale of the show. This is what everybody's here to see, and so we don't want to disappoint, and I'm sure we won't. It's obviously more dangerous at night to go 350 miles an hour in the dark. All you have is runway lights out there. It's not like a drag strip where it's fully lit up, or a regular racetrack. So you just have to have a plan in place in your head before you go out there and execute it. And if you do so, it's going to be safe.
As the end of another show arrives, it's just the beginning for Chris and his crew as they tuck Shockwave inside the trailer, climb aboard, and prepare for the long drive ahead to their next performance.
It'd sure be nice to hop in a plane and be home that night after a show, but that's not the way it works with jet trucks. If I could hop in this thing and hit the afterburner and have enough fuel to get home, we could be home tonight. But it doesn't work that way, so.
But despite a seemingly endless commute with hundreds upon hundreds of miles accumulated across the country from show to show each season, to Chris, it's clearly worth every moment.
I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing than driving a race truck. I've driven stock cars, motocross, all kinds of stuff for 25 years, and this takes the cake. There's nothing more intense than this thing, and to be able to drive it's incredible, and just honored to be able to do it.